It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie, yo, 3, 3, 2. Day in the neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. Once again, y'all, it is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Which means that it's that time. It's that time. It's that time. To once again go back to who? Mike from that chapter. That chapter Tuesdays, y'all. Hope y'all doing excellente out there today. And I'm glad that you came on back to the channel once again to fuck with the bean. And the title of this video, his disturbing master plan terrified parents across America. Now, what the hell kind of master plan did this man have? We just, not too long ago, watching the Mr. Baller video where a lady had a crazy master plan. And this one terrified parents across America? Like, what the could this be? I don't know, my brothers and sisters. I can't even come up with a hypothesis of this shit. I have no idea. But we finna see, though. But before we see, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need. That chapter Tuesdays. Once again, my friends. Y'all got what y'all need? Y'all ready to go? Then let's fucking go.
Hey you, and welcome. My name is Mike, and in this old video, a school bus was driving, right, in California's Central Valley at approximately 4 p.m. This was a drop-off run after a full day at school, and the driver, who was letting kids off at every stop, when he turned a corner and saw that the road was blocked by armed men. These men took over the bus that was still full of kids and did something to them. The only word fitting is horrifying. The actions that day were despicable, but the men behind it and what exactly they did was unbelievable. But you better believe it. So let's give it a go.
Let's give it a go. And get whatever you may need.
The 15th of July 1976 was a Thursday, right? And that afternoon, just after 4 p.m., Ed Ray, a 55-year-old rancher, was in the middle of the Dairyland Elementary Summer School drop-off run. Ed was happiest when he was working, the kind of guy who would say, you know, I'll sleep when I'm dead, you know, the kind who would never retire. He was a stocky rancher, stout and tough. But the school run was his downtime, something he found easy compared to the hard labor he was used to. Ed loved kids. He was always patient with them, no matter how boisterous, loud they could be. And in fact, this particular day, they were a little bit more excited than usual because they had just come back from a trip to a swimming pool. They were full of excited energy, and Ed took it all in his stride, and he indulged the kids while they sang and called out to each other across the bus. He had just dropped off a brother and sister and watched them disappear into an endless cornfield on this hot but unusually overcast summer day. This was just around 4:15 p.m. and he was heading off to his next stop. This is on the outskirts of the town of Chowchilla. Roads were quiet, and all you can see to the left and to the right are endless corn and blueberry fields. But then, driving his school bus, he was forced to a sudden stop. Turning...
I mean, this is so crazy to me, y'all. Like, I'm just sitting right here right now trying to figure out, like, why did they attack this school bus? Like, what is the motive? What the hell is the master plan? This is crazy. I didn't know that. I wasn't thinking that we was about to hear about a gang of people attacking a damn school bus. I didn't know that's where we was going. But let's keep going.
Onto Avenue 21, the road in front of him was blocked by a white 1971 Dodge van, with its doors wide open. At first Ed thought little of it, right? He tried to squeeze around the van, tried to squeeze the bus around the van. He thought, maybe somebody was having some car troubles and just decided to park it in the middle of the road very obnoxiously. But then, any doubts of this being an ignorant mistake by a careless driver, those doubts were well and truly thrown under the bus. Out of nowhere, a man jumped in front of Ed. He was dressed in overalls, with his face all smushed up because a stocking was pulled tightly over his face. Ed's eyes, squinting, were drawn to a gun in this guy's hand, and the iron was looking right at him. Before Ed could react, this man walked calmly over to the door of the bus and asked Ed, "Could you open the door, please?" Ed, shocked and completely blindsided, complied, opened the door. Two more men in the same uniform joined the polite highwayman and boarded the bus.
I mean, this shit sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Now, the only thing, because I've been thinking a little harder, the only plausible thing that I can think of is that they coming to kidnap one particular kid because they want to hold this kid ransom to get some money out of their parents. But if they just getting on this damn school bus and kidnapping all the kids and doing whatever to them, then this is just crazy, 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 crazy.
One of the men had a rifle, and as soon as he was through the bus door, he had the barrel pointed right at Ed Ray's head, as they ordered Ed and the 26 children on board to the back of the bus. Obviously everyone was terrified, no one had a clue what was happening. The eldest child on the bus was 14, the youngest was 5, and they all began screaming and crying at the sight of these armed men on the bus, looking scary as all hell. Once they'd successfully herded the kids and Ed to the back of the bus, the man with the rifle took over driving duties and drove a short distance. Then,
okay, yeah, this is crazy, 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 crazy. They didn't took the damn bus with all the kids and the bus driver on it. They have literally kidnapped these children, man. Why? What the is going on? Crazy.
Parked the bus on a dry riverbed behind a bamboo thicket. The man with the pistol, the first guy he had seen, had been following the school bus in that white van. He then reversed the white van up to the school door, opened the van door, opened the school door. They then split the kids into two groups and had the first group of 12 kids jump over the gap to the back of the van. Once the first 12 were secure, the men coordinated to move the first van away and moved a second green-colored van into place to collect Ed and the remaining 14 kids. All this time, one of the men held a shotgun to the chest of a 12-year-old girl. That was when Ed began to realize this was an intentional kidnapping. It had been planned. The roadblock, they had two vans ready waiting for him, but God only knows what they're actually going to do to them. Once the door of each van were shut behind them, any sense of where in the hell they were was completely shut out with the sunlight. The windows were covered, and there was a wooden divide blocking the driver's cabin from the back of the van. Other than being, occasionally thrown to the left or to the right when the van took a sharp turn, they had absolutely no idea what was going on. Ed was doing his best to keep the children he was with calm, but his own sense of dread was making it hard to breathe. Chowchilla in 1976 was not at all a typical Californian city. Even now, it is more in common with Midwestern farming towns than most other California cities. It's a very small American town with long hot days that bleed into one another, where people know their neighbors by name and anything out of the ordinary is immediately obvious. By all accounts, the 15th of July 1976 was unusually overcast, especially for that time of year. But otherwise that day had started out as any other. By the end of the day, the little town would be swamped by hundreds of reporters from every corner of the country. In total, the hostages, kidnapping victims, whatever, they were on the road for a total of 12 hours, driving more than 100 miles from where they'd started. That's 12 hours and 100 miles in the sweltering California summer heat. No water, no toilets, no nothing. The kids tried to look after each other, and Ed and the older children led them in singing songs and trying to keep them from panicking during this endless torture. The only thing worse, though, than their conditions was not knowing if they would live to see tomorrow or not. It was in the middle of the night when they finally slowed and then stopped, and the doors were opened. But I doubt there was any relief. Outside it was pitch black. They had no idea where they were. This was about like 4 something a.m. They couldn't see anything around them, only the kidnappers' flashlights. One by one, Ed and the 26 children were ferried from the back of those 2 vans to a small hole in the middle of the dirt. A small black hole, pitch black down there. In the hole was a 12-foot ladder going straight down. And they were being forced into that hole, not knowing what the heck was down there. Before each of them was sent down the ladder, they were stripped to their underwear, starting with Ed. He was first, and he was given a flashlight before being told to head down the ladder. At the same time, the kidnappers took a roll call of their victims, one of them asking names, and the other scrawling their answers on an old fast food bag.
Now see, y'all, I cannot put together why would they be doing this to all these children and the bus driver, I think his name Ed. I can't understand what the hell this plan is where you decided to do this, kidnap all these kids. Like, what the fuck? And I ain't gonna lie real quick, y'all. I may be having a bit of deja vu or something, but I feel like I have watched this story before. Not from Mike from that chapter, maybe it was Mr. Ballin', you know what I'm saying, Coffee House Crime, I don't know. But I feel like I remember this story, man. But we watch so many of these crazy stories over here till sometimes they start intertwining and, you know what I'm saying, they start mixing together and get them confused. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, this would have made so much more sense if it was just one child they went after. But for it to be all them children, what the fuck? And then another thing real quick. Imagine the parents right now. Imagine wherever they from. That city, that town. That town going crazy. All these damn kids missing. All these kids, all these parents are freaking the flip out. A whole school bus just gone. Can you imagine that?
At the bottom of the hole, then, they found what would be their jail cell, and a very hot and sweltering one, suffocating one, at that. The makeshift underground bunker was in fact an old truck trailer, buried almost 12 feet underground and topped off with tons of rocks and dry dirt. The kidnappers had prepared for their guests' arrival. Not only had they created toilets by digging out deep holes under each of the rear wheel wells, they had left several loaves of bread, jars of peanut butter, boxes of cereal, and large jugs of water. So they had a little bit in this place, but Ed's immediate worry was the lack of oxygen. That many people, even that many small people, but still in that tight a space. The trailer was 8 feet by 16 feet, so it's pretty small when there's 27 people in there. The kidnappers, though, had thought of that and put in 2 ventilation shafts that let in air, but just about let in air. It was still extremely hard to breathe in there, extremely hot, and claustrophobia set in for those 27 people in there. Ed's next worry was just how deep they were. Could the roof sustain the weight of the earth above? He knew, though, there's little you can do about it. You just gotta try and wait it out. Hope rescue comes. Try and just keep yourself and the kids from panicking and losing your minds down there. Down there, though, in this tiny, dark, suffocating box. Though they didn't know it yet, Ed and the kids were now more than 100 miles northwest from where they had been taken in Chowchilla. They were now in Livermore, California. However, back in Chowchilla, the alarm had been raised almost immediately when the kids didn't make it home. There was no faffing about whatsoever. But the authorities had no idea where they were. It was almost like they were using an in-person VPN of some kind. Like NordVPN.
Look at Mike coming with his commercials, y'all. But y'all, I can clearly see that town went into a straight uproar. A whole school bus just missing, full of kids. Man, them parents, boy. And then these people who did this shit, boy, they had this shit planned out like a motherfucker. Like, they coordinated with this. This shit was what the fuck is this master plan? Why have y'all done this? Let's get past these commercials, y'all. Let's take it back right here. And let's go.
On top, Nord, of course, has a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you know you can trust them. Thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring that chapter. Now let's get back into it. It didn't take long for the police to realize the bus and the kids and the driver were gone, for no good reason whatsoever. The search had in fact already started before Ed and the kids had even made it to the Livermore Rock Quarry, where they were now buried alive.
Good evening. There may never have been as anguishing a mystery. 26 school children and their bus driver have vanished in California's San Joaquin Valley. Vanished without a clue. Only their abandoned bus has been found.
Literally, within 2 hours of the kids and Ed being taken, authorities had a plane in the air, and by that evening it was national news. President Gerald Ford and the Californian governor, Jerry Brown, both gave all law enforcement agencies involved in the search for the children carte blanche to do whatever they needed, whatever the cost, to find missing kids and get them home. Now, everything had gone so smoothly for the kidnappers. You would think this is the work of very well-prepared, well-armed, well-equipped professionals,
Yeah.
right? And so, with all things, the rumor mill, punched its way into high gear. Soon people began talking. Was this the work of the Zodiac? Maybe it was the work of prisoners who had escaped a nearby jail and something. Who knows? Maybe it's the Russians. Everybody and their dog was blamed at this point. But terror was everywhere. So after dropping off their very valuable cargo, the 3 kidnappers had gone back to their base of operations and were now preparing their demands. This was a ransom. The only problem though, and this is kind of when the story changes a little bit from being pretty horrific to kind of like something out of a Coen Brothers movie. Very darkly humorous, because the ransomers, they were trying to call up to state their ransom. They're trying to call the police and the tip lines and everything like that to say, we have the kids, this is their demands. But they couldn't get through to them because the phone lines were all blocked up by other people calling in tips about the story, which was now national news. So with the police phone lines being so overwhelmed, the kidnappers were like, shit. So instead, they were like, alright, let's have a little think about this. Let's just go for a nap. Right, these rocket surgeons decided, you know what, let's go just... It's pretty exhausting driving those 100 miles. How about we just go for a little nap? We'll call them later. Meanwhile, back at the quarry, Ed and the kids were doing their best to try and figure a way out for themselves out of the situation. As I said, Ed was worried that they were going to run out of air and they were all going to suffocate to death in there, or the roof would collapse and they would be buried alive. I mean, they already were buried alive, but buried alive more.
And I was wrong too, y'all. I guess I wasn't thinking big picture enough. Because I'm thinking they came, it would have made more sense for them to come look for this one child and hold a ransom. No, they holding the whole goddamn school bus ransom. All the kids and the bus driver. That's some crazy ass shit to do. Bro, what? I don't understand people, man. You need money that bad, bro? Till you willing to do something like this? Really? Really, bro? I don't know, man. Like I always say, y'all, humans are the greatest things on earth, and we most definitely, at the same time, could be the most scumbagness. And I know that's not a word, but goddammit, I just made it one. People on earth.
They still had no idea why they'd been taken, where they'd been taken to, never mind who'd done it. And so, with a million questions running through their heads, Ed and the older kids struggled to try and move the large and very heavy metal sheet that was covering an opening on the top of the truck. Ed and the oldest boy eventually managed to shift the sheet. They had no idea that it also had been weighed down by 2 45 kilo, 100 pound industrial batteries.
Damn.
It had taken hours to move that cover, and they still had a long and arduous way to get to freedom. They didn't really know how down or how deep they were buried. So Ed and a couple of the kids, they propped up these mattresses inside the trailer while one of the boys started digging his way up, out, and he would pass down the dirt, and the people down in the trailer, the kids down the trailer would spread out amongst them, and he kept doing that for hours and hours and hours until he saw light. It must have seemed like a never-ending task. It was 16. They were down there for 16 hours trying to dig their way out until they finally made it, and one by one they were able to climb their way out. While 100 miles away there was this insane national search. It was all over the news. 26 children and Ed managed to crawl out of this buried trailer in the middle of this quarry. They had no idea where they were. The only thing they were wearing was underwear. They were completely lost, as you can imagine, terrified, sick, whatever, exhausted. They managed to walk their way to a manned shack at the entrance of the quarry, and I can only imagine the person there was pretty surprised to see them.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine a man and 26 children walking up to your damn house, knocking on your door, and they ain't got no clothes on them but underwear and look like they have been through hell? Can you imagine witnessing that? My jaw would hit the floor. Like, literally, like, what in the fuck happened? You know what I'm saying? What the fuck happened to y'all? Someone please call 911. I ain't trying to be funny, man. That's just how it would be, y'all. Like, oh my God. Who playing a prank on me? Where the cameras at? I'm getting parked. You know what I'm saying? That would be unreal to witness, man. But more than anything, y'all, all of them survived. That is the crucial part of the whole story. All of them survived. Wow.
The kids and Ed Ray managed to walk out of the gates, physically unharmed, other than minor cuts and bruises, but carrying psychological scars that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. They were checked over briefly at the scene before being loaded up and onto a new bus, which they must have loved that, and driven to a nearby rehabilitation center, the closest facility that could handle them all. Once there, they were fed and checked over properly by emergency responders, and all found to be in good physical health. By this stage, the kidnappers had woken up from their little nap, bleary-eyed, turned on the TV, and saw the news that their kidnapping victims had freed themselves and had escaped. The kidnappers hadn't even gotten a chance to send in their demands, and now they had nothing. The hostages were then finally returned to Chowchilla by bus, this time with a police escort, shortly before daybreak on Saturday the 17th of July 1976. By that afternoon, all of the kids and Ed were safely back home. The sheriff's office and the FBI were following up on every single tip that came in, right? They dug out the trailer that was buried in the quarry to scour for any clues as to who could have done this. Investigators quickly discovered that the trailer had been buried in the quarry for 8 months, being put there in November 1975.
Damn.
For obvious reasons, it was the quarry's owner, Frederick Nickerson Woods, who was, first scrutinized as to, were you involved? He owned the land, he owned the quarry that this had happened in. They started by searching his 100-acre estate in Portola Valley, over 130 miles away from the quarry. Frederick is a very wealthy man. He owned quarries and land and blah, 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 all over the place. He was money bags, mister. Frederick now, by the way, he had nothing to hide. But his 24-year-old son, Frederick Woods IV, had a fair bit to hide and consequently was nowhere to be found. He's 24 years old in this picture. Wow, he looks like shit. Not mean. It didn't take long for them to find that
that motherfucker look like he 54.
Two best friends, 24-year-old James Schoenfeld and his younger brother, 22-year-old Richard Schoenfeld, the gruesome twosome, had also seemingly vanished. Authorities, they prepared to issue an all-points bulletin to try and find these three missing men who now, it definitely seemed like were their prime suspects. The sheriff's office, the FBI, they were all preparing for what they actually started to believe would be an international manhunt to find them.
The search itself is centered in both California and Nevada on the theory that the suspects could very well have headed east. Being sought are 3 men and 2 vans.
The 3 suspects were all men of considerable means. Frederick's father and his family were obviously wealthy, owning the quarry and several other lucrative businesses, and the Schoenfeld brothers were sons of a wealthy podiatrist. Which it makes the whole story of the kidnapping and the ransom that they didn't even get to all the more strange. It's not like they needed money. Like, they came from wealth. But as I said...
That's what I was gonna say too, man, bro. Why y'all doing this shit? That's why I was like, really, bro? Like, y'all doing this shit like, really, bro? You hurting that bad out here? you gotta come up with this master plan like this to kidnap all these kids to try to hold somebody ransom for some fucking money, and come to find out they don't even need no damn money. Their damn mamas and daddies filthy rich. So why the fuck they just did this? They just did this because they just fucked up ass human souls on this earth.
They didn't even get a chance to ask first. This story is ludicrous. Before the hunt could even kick into full gear, however, on July 23rd, just over a week since the kidnapping, Richard Schoenfeld, accompanied by his father and attorney, surrendered to police in Oakland. He was held on $1 million bail. His brother, James, and Fred Woods were caught 3 days later. Fred Woods, who's kind of like thought to be the ringleader of this whole operation, he had fled to Vancouver, British Columbia, and he was actually arrested outside of a post office by RCMP officers who were, alerted by the FBI in America to be on the lookout for this guy. And then James only got so far as Menlo Park in San Francisco before he was actually preparing to give himself up by the time he's arrested. As you can see, these are not like career criminals. The trial was moved to Alameda County because of just how infamous the crime had become where it happened in Madera County. On July 25th, 1977, all 3 suspects became convicted perpetrators when they all pled guilty to 27 counts of kidnapping for ransom. In return, the state dropped 18 counts of robbery. The evidence was pretty overwhelming, which I haven't even gotten to when they did the search of the property where I believe this whole thing was orchestrated. But anyway, they didn't really have it. They knew they were going to go away. They didn't have a hope in hell. See, because during the search of the Woods estate, when they were still trying to find these guys, investigators discovered a draft of a ransom note, which they'd signed off with Beelzebub. The note asked for $2.5 million in return for the children, which they later increased to $5 million, which is about $25 million in today's money. Authorities also had a copy of the handwritten play-by-play instructions the Inept gang had written out in preparation for the kidnapping. James later told an interviewer that the 3 of them had heard on the news that California was having a surplus of $5 million in its budget. And they thought to themselves, $5 million? That could be our money. The only way they could think to get their hands on the money was a kidnapping, and they reasoned that the state would pay the most for children. It was as simple and cold as that. You might wonder why they didn't all just run away, or just... Why would they even do this in the first place? It was $5 million is a lot of money. As I said, $5 million back then is $25 million today. But still, they came from wealthy families. The risk probably doesn't equal the reward. Well, you can answer that one, I suppose. The answer is both shocking and underwhelming. They just wanted the money. And now it was said that Fred and James were in debt, but I mean, they both came from wealthy families, so I think they probably would have been alright. They just wanted money. Simple as that. And they thought kidnapping children and burning them alive was the grade A plan. In fact, their plan got even better. We didn't even get into the good part of the plan, which unfortunately they didn't follow through with, but I would have loved that they had. The kidnapper's notebook revealed an insane but awesome plan. It involved knocking out the driver with some chloroform. Then they were going to hijack a plane, as you do, loaded with dummies though, and then throw the dummies out of the plane wearing parachutes. So they would think that was the children while they flew away. And they'd even planned on getting hold of an X-ray truck and lead vests, so they could check the money when they were finally given it to make sure there was no tracers or nothing implanted within the money. Thought of everything. These guys couldn't even stay awake without needing a nap long enough to see how their plan actually ended badly. Never mind trying to somehow get a hold of a portable X-ray machine. Maybe they thought they would escape to the moon too.
Man, these dudes delusional as fuck, man. These are probably the most delusional criminals we have ever watched over here, my brothers and sisters. These dudes are fucking ridiculous, bro. And then, like Mike just said, man, y'all got all these brilliant for ideas of how you gonna carry this plan out, and your ass can't even stay woke during the middle of the plan. If you had half of a brain cell, one of y'all should have always been watching the damn place where y'all had these kids. Yeah, somebody should have been on watch. I'm glad y'all was dumb enough to not be on watch. You know what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong, my brothers and sisters. I'm glad they were some dumbasses. But I'm just saying, man, these dudes are fucking ridiculous, bro. Dude talking about taking a damn plane and parachuting dummies out so people can think they was the kids. Who the fuck gonna think them kids? Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
The point of all this testimony is an attempt by the prosecution to show that there was indeed a great deal of bodily harm inflicted on the Chowchilla kidnap victims. If they can establish that to the satisfaction of Judge Leo Deegan, then the 3 defendants could be sentenced to life imprisonment without possibility of parole.
On December 15th, 1977, all 3 men were found guilty of 3 counts of kidnapping with bodily harm. It would usually end with mandatory sentence of life in prison, but the 3 were given the slightly lesser sentence of life with the possibility of parole. James and Richard Schoenfeld were both paroled first. Richard, aged 57, in June of 2012. And
Wow.
James, aged 63, in August of 2015. Fred Woods, the apparent ringleader, served the longest before being finally paroled in August of 2022 at the age of 70.
Wow.
Ed Ray was considered a hero to the day he died, aged 91, in May of 2012. On February 26, 2015, which would have been Ed Ray's 94th birthday, the city of Chowchilla officially renamed the largest park in the city Ed Ray Park. The 26th of February is officially known as Ed Ray Day in Chowchilla. Obviously, it's pretty funny to poke fun at how stupid and bad this plan went and how the brain trust over here did everything wrong and they're clearly idiots. But this whole event had some real, shocking aftermath to some people. Some of the victims, they had psychological trauma. They still live with the trauma of what happened to them, being buried alive. Some ended up with multiple arrests, with substance abuse issues. Others suffer with nightmares even to this day and refuse to talk about the kidnapping. They all required therapy and years of help, and many still suffer. Over the years, the kidnappers all apologized many times for their actions. And to be fair, each has grown old in prison and missed out on living their lives outside of a small prison cell.
Good.
Essentially, they themselves, in the end, were buried alive. Who knows if they're
Good.
really evil or not? I'll leave that to you to decide. Because who knows if the kidnappers would have actually left their hostages to die in that buried trailer or not. Would they have left them to rot in there? If they hadn't seen that the hostages had managed to escape on the news, they very well may have gone back for them and freed them and called the whole thing off. They only ran and abandoned them once they knew they'd been found. Though the hostages may have also died if they hadn't freed themselves. No one knew where they were. Who knows if they would have gone back for them. And also, the roof was caving in. Either way, what happened was the best outcome for everybody. It was a
Yeah.
terrible, stupid, and horrific plan. I don't think I would go so far to call these guys evil. Because I don't really think they're evil. I just think they're very, very stupid.
I mean, I don't evil or not. That's irrelevant to me if they evil or not. That's very irrelevant. All I care about is their actions and what they did. They ass need to go to fucking prison. That's on point blank period. Evil or not, they actions of kidnapping them kids equal your ass need to be in prison.
And it's probably best for everybody else that they were in prison this whole time. And that will do it for this whole video.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for watching this wild one. It really means a lot to me. So, thank you. Don't think I'll ever be able to thank you enough for that. So, yeah. You're listening. If you're looking for more, please check out the That Chapter podcast on all podcast platforms for a whole host of exclusive stories. That Chapter Patreon, $2 a month. You get early access to videos, exclusive videos. There's bits and bobs there. And other than that, kind of wraps up this whole one. I'll see you real soon in the next little video. Couple of days, so please look forward to that. But until then, take care of each other. And also yourselves. Because you know what? Do it for me. Because I love you. Mike out.
Hey, Mike look good without his glasses though to y'all. Like I like it, Mike. I'm fucking with it. I'm fucking with your new look, bro. You looking good out there. You looking good out here. But no, man, like I said, Mike, bro, it don't matter, bro, about evil, good, whatever. All I'm worried about is what the fuck you did. And what them 3 people did was fucked up, man. Kidnapping them kids. Now, like I said, thank God that none of them died in this whole ordeal, this whole kidnapping. Thank God for that. Because 26 plus the dude, 27 people, and all of them survived. The chances of that are very slim. And this time it actually happened, man. But it's still though, I got a problem with this, my brothers and sisters. I got a problem with this right now. This right here. They did a lot of years in prison. Ain't get out till they was old and gray. But I just feel like, man, they should have never got out. I'm just saying, even though, and this is the reason why I feel like they did get out, because they never killed any of these children. You know what I'm saying? They didn't kill nobody. That's what we talking about. And I believe that's what saved them. But if it was me, I still get a life in prison, bro. Y'all don't deserve to get out. I don't give a fuck if you 70. You know what I'm saying? Walking with a cane down the street and got gray hair now. I don't care about that, bro. What you did all them years ago, your ass still gonna take this punishment until you leave this earth. That's just how I be. I guess I may be a little too cruel, and I guess that's why I would never be one of the ones to make those decisions. Because if I can make these decisions, boy, these motherfuckers will be in for some shit. Death penalty, death penalty, death penalty. You get a death penalty, you get a life sentence, you get a death penalty, you get a life sentence. I'll be giving them out like they fucking candy, like they a fucking Tootsie Roll Pop. I ain't lying, man. But I agree with my brothers and sisters, man. I'm gonna let y'all go, man. Like I said, this one here was crazy. These dudes was just, they had no reason to do this. You fucking had money. You weren't hurt for no damn money, man. I don't know why they did this. Certain people just want to do crazy shit in their life. They just want to do crazy shit, and this is a perfect example of it. Y'all just make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Comment, subscribe, do all that for me. And make sure you come on back tomorrow, because best believe, Lord willing, I will be back tomorrow. And until then, my friends, remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.